be here with everybody tonight. Thank you for having us here tonight, and we're very honored for that. Just very briefly, let me tell you just a little bit about my background and where I come from. I am a military brat. My father was Air Force, and born at Langley Air Force Base in Langley, Virginia, Hampton, Virginia, and was there for just a brief 3 years. But I'm actually, I came here, or my parents came here back in 1971 and settled down. My mother's originally from up in the Fort Wayne area, up in East Knox County. Again, my dad was originally from Kentucky. They met at the bus station, and that's how this family got created. With that being said, not there. So I graduated Carter High School, and upon graduating, I joined the military myself. I'm an Air Force veteran. And any veterans in here? Thank you for this. Well, as soon as I got out, I got hired by the Knox County Sheriff's Office in 1980, and that's where I started my career, and I was there for the next 30 years. Very blessed to go through the ranks of the Knox County Sheriff's Office. I started out as a correctional officer and worked my way to patrol, and then made it to supervisor, detective, all the way through the rank of chief deputy. And in 2007, when those of you that were here remember the Black Wednesday that happened, I was appointed as the acting sheriff for about 6 months, and then was the chief deputy for the last two sheriffs. So my experience goes back in law enforcement for at least through that time for 30 years. I retired in 2009 and went to pursue a fun time, I guess you would say. And right after that, I went to work for the Blount County Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff Braun called me to come to work over there and to be over his training unit. So I oversaw his training unit for the next 5 years. And then in 2016, I decided that I'm going to take the leap and run for Knox County Sheriff. And in 2018, we were very blessed and very fortunate to win the Knox County Sheriff's election by 65 to 35%. With that being said, what an honor it was to be elected Knox County Sheriff. There's no higher honor than that, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And some of the things that we did when we first came in, we changed our patrol officers to get them off of a 12-hour shift and put them back on a 6-4 rotation, to give them more time with their families, give them more time to recuperate from those shifts. Those 12-hour shifts at times would turn into 14, 15, 16 hours, and by the time they got home and de-accelerated, well, they're back at work again. My feeling behind that is you put a tired individual out on the street, that split-second decision could be a life-ending decision. So I don't want that to happen to them. So we changed that very quickly. Some of the other things that we did when we come in, I told everybody, when we have, my feeling was we had too many chiefs within our agency. I told everybody then that we were going to reduce those numbers when people either retired or they left, whatever it was, that we just wouldn't replace them. At this time, we have reduced 5 of those positions. I'm sorry, we started out with 7. We reduced 5 because we filled 2 of those back. One of those being a chief of detectives and the other an administrative chief. So we filled 2 of those 7. So we are now 5 less than what we had when we started. Because I felt like we were just too top heavy. We needed the men and women on the street. We needed the correctional officers. So with those 5 positions, that's what we did. We created more patrol and we created more correctional officers. Everybody knows the way things have been here for the past 2 years, not only with us, but across this nation. We're all fighting and have been fighting COVID. The other big target we've had is fighting defunding the police. Justice reform. I don't think anybody who was ever elected in 2018 would have thought that they would be going through what they'd be going through today. For the last 2 years of having to fight something like that has been tremendous. And what that's done is done several things. It has taken our workforce down. Our numbers have gone down because people now, is there anybody in here that's tried to hire somebody if you got a company? It's hard to find people who want to work right now. And within law enforcement, it's even harder. Who right now wants to be in law enforcement knowing that you're either gonna get spit upon, shot at, stabbed, and have somebody right in your face cussing you, and you have to stand there and take it? We've seen it go across the country, and here, we've been very blessed here in Knox County. I'm gonna say that Knox County has taken care of our law enforcement when it's come to trying to defund the police. That just hasn't happened. But with that being said, I'm still fighting to make sure that these men and women get paid a decent salary. I'm going to do that. That's one of the other things that I'm gonna talk about here in just a minute. But knowing what's going on across this country, we cannot afford to lose any more officers, whether it be corrections, patrol, or detectives, and we cannot even afford to lose our support staff. That's our records people, special services. We've got to have all of them. And to be able to do that, there's two things that's got to happen. One, I've got to work on making sure I get with the commission of getting these raises for these people. And number two, I've got to be a good leader. And I feel like so far we've led this agency in the right direction, and that's where I'm going to continue with it. The defunding of the police has really, really hurt us, and I want to make sure that we build that back up. Our numbers have gone down. I don't care to tell you, our corrections positions, we're down right at 70 people right now. Here's another number for you. The state prisons across the state of Tennessee, 900 people short. 900. That was told to us at the Tennessee Sheriff's Association here just about 4 months ago. 900 people that they're short. So the governor has stepped up and said, we're gonna raise their salary up 37%. 37% brings them up to around $44,000 a year. Our starting officers, our starting corrections make around 35. Our patrol starting out at 38. We have got to work on, I have to work on that. It's my responsibility to make sure I go up and fight for those men and women, and I'll continue to do so. It's that important not only to me, but it's important to you, each and every one of you here. Each and every one of you here pay taxes. And you expect a good product when you call. You should, that's your responsibility. So I'm gonna make sure we continue with that. We have not gotten the raises that I think anybody thinks we deserve or they deserve. It's not me, it's about the men and women. With that being said, what I was able to do for the past 2 years on bonuses to get our people a bonus, if I couldn't get them to raise, it still wasn't enough. It was a one-time, if you will. At one time, we got them $1,500. Another time, the mayor stepped in and gave $750. Another time, I stepped in and got another $750 from the commission. And this last time, because of our shortages, I took that money that was left over without coming back to the commission and saying, we need more money. I took from those salary surplus, and I said, we're gonna divvy it up amongst all of the employees of the sheriff's office. Not just pick one or two out. I'm gonna give it to everybody. And we gave them a $3,000 bonus. If I can't, support the people of the sheriff's office, how can I stand up there in front of anybody and say we're doing a good job? I've got to fight for those men and women, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to fight for this community. I've been here since 71, and my short stint in the military being gone, and this is home. This is where I plan to retire. So these men and women deserve everything that I can get for them, and everything that I ask you all to help us with. Because I understand nobody wants to have to pay more for services, but it's coming, and I'm telling you, we gotta work on it. With that being said, our corrections division, as I said, we're 70 to 75 down as of right now. We have a total across the agency of right around 145 vacancies. 145 vacancies within the sheriff's office. But I'm gonna continue to work to make sure we get those filled. Once people start really working and understanding that, hey, you can't work from home all the time, because that is what has happened. You got two magazines right here put out by police and law enforcement that tells us the numbers of people who have gotten out of law enforcement and the reasons they've gotten out of law enforcement. And it's those that I just mentioned earlier. And it's time that we here in Knox County really take a close look at our law enforcement and to make sure that we take care of those men that are here not only fighting, but they're also protecting those inmates that are in the jail. When I took office, we had right around 1,600 inmates in our 3 facilities. Our facility when I started is downtown in the city-county building, maxed at 215. The detention facility, Roger D. Wilson Detention Facility, its max is 633. You do the numbers. And then our work release center, 100, right around 100 or so. We now have today 1,021 people in our jail. We were down to right at close to 700 when COVID started hitting. We started getting people out of the jail. We had to also set up a system where people, when they were arrested, to make sure that we isolated them for those 10 days before we put them in put them in the population. So that team within our corrections division put together a plan to make sure that we put all of this together to make that happen, to keep the numbers of COVID coming into that facility down. They did a fantastic job of making that happen. Within the first year, we had, I think, 55 people that ended up having COVID within our facility. But being able to disinfect, to do all the things that we were able to do. The numbers started coming down because obviously our pretrial, there was more people put on pretrial. Our pretrial numbers reached almost 3,000 at one point. They're down to right around 2,000 now. And you've heard it mentioned here by the 2 judges here, candidates. We, the Knox County Sheriff's Office, is the largest mental health facility in East Tennessee. I say that because our last count, we had right at 85 people in our mental pods within the Sheriff's Office. Way too many for us to have to deal with. I tell people, look, this is not what we're in the business for. I want to make sure that we have the proper care for those individuals, but it's not there. I had one, and I want to tell you this. We had one of our officers here just a few months ago that was working in the mental pod, helping another inmate, and had another inmate walk up behind him, grab his handcuff key or handcuffs out of his pouch around the back, and he cold cocked the officer, shattered his jaw, knocked him down, and then jumped on him and started kicking and beating him until another inmate grabbed that inmate and threw him off of him. Now you tell me working in corrections isn't dangerous. This young man, while we were at the ER, his wife shows up and she says, "You're not going back to work." He's back to work because he wanted to come back. And I'm very thankful for that. But sitting there with them in the ER and listening to him try and talk and tell him, "Be quiet, your jaw is shattered." His wife was very adamant about that. And you know, when you talk to those people like that, we have got to do something. We've got to do something, and I'm going to make sure that I take care of that. We got another issue that's out here. It's a homeless issue. Everybody says, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people says it's a law enforcement issue. No, it's not. It's a community issue. And we all have to work with this. Every one of us do. Those of you that know my brother, I don't know if you know Bruce Spangler. He is over the volunteer ministry. And we've met and we've come up with some ideas of what we can do within not only the sheriff's office, but also working with them to try to find people some homes. I know the city has a program going on, we're looking at something similar to that. But when we have people call in and say we have homeless people and they're trashing our area, what we can do on private property is go out and check the individuals and see if they have warrants on them. And then it's up to the private individuals to clean the mess up. And sometimes it's a huge mess. So we've got to be able to work together on it. And I know we keep getting more and more. We see more and more. Everybody in here, I'm sure you do, nodding their heads. You see more and more of it. But I'm thankful to be in the position that I'm in today. More blessed than I could ever imagine to be the Knox County Sheriff. You wake up in the morning, you still don't believe it. I know General, she probably sometimes is wondering, just like all of us have before, and just like Jimmy Jones, we've all wondered, what in the world are we doing? Sometimes it's there. But you know what? If it wasn't for people taking that step and making sure we protect this county, where would we be? You all heard me. You saw my letter to the President of the United States. I'm not going to follow what some of the things that they're telling us that they think that we need to do. When that mask mandate first started, let me tell you, when I said that I was not going to enforce that, because I think some of the people on that Board of Health thought, when they mentioned the sheriff would sign or do whatever they're going to do to people, nobody had any conversation with me on that. But I also said we weren't going to do it. And I will tell you this, there was more hate texts that come across my phone that told me I was killing thousands of lives in Knox County and that I would pay for it. We also, real quick, and I know we're probably on the time crunch, real quick, the 287G program, everybody understands that it's an immigration. That's another issue that we're working with, where we have a program within the sheriff's office that when somebody comes in the facility and is booked on a crime, then with a lack of better words and to shorten it down, they are looked at a little closer. They are able to go, our officers are able to go into another database to look if these people have any other warrants or any if they're wanted from another state or anything like that, and we pass that on to the ICE agent that's on premise. But that's another issue that we're working with. And I had a group of immigration and defund police parade into my subdivision where I live of 22 cars. And obviously I don't think that was a good thing, as I told them. Try it one more time and we'll see what happens. With that being said, there's a lot more we could talk about, but I want to make sure that we have time, and if you all have questions, and turn it over to Jacob.
Well, you still have about 4 minutes.
Oh, I still have 4 minutes? All right. Yes, sir.
Sir, can I ask the same question I asked of the 2 judicial candidates?
Sure.
I've never voted for a sheriff. Connecticut doesn't have them, which is where I'm from. What would make a difference to someone who's meeting you and Mr. Jones for the first time tonight that would help them decide who to vote for?
Well, obviously fighting for our men and women. You know, I've been in there for, it'll be 4 years. I've gotten them 12%, which isn't a lot in those 4 years. I've gone to bat. I've asked for 8% each year and end up getting right around 4 to 5%. But if you don't step up for them and fight for these men and women, you won't get anything. And I want to make sure that we continue doing that. The other thing is I feel like with my experience that I've had, from all the way through the agency, I was a chief deputy before JJ. I was a chief deputy for the other sheriff before him. That gave me the experience, and I think both of us have experience. But I'm the one that's in the job right now, and I'm the one that's running for re-election.
Can you get your letter published and out again?
what have you.
and somehow get it out. There's a lot of people who have not read it, and it's excellent.
Yes, ma'am.
What is the sheriff's role when it comes to the elections, precincts, voting day, early voting? What role do sheriffs play as far as, providing any kind of security on the grounds, anything like that?
No, the only security we do is whenever the polls close and we have officers that go and help the precincts load their boxes up. Unless there's an issue, obviously, we'll be called if those precincts in the county.
So you escort the ballots?
Yes.
The boxes?
Yes.
That's a chain of custody?
That's correct.
And where does it go?
It goes to the election commission.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sheriff, I have a question. Right after our meeting last month, I spent 7.5 hours along with Tammy Cheek in the Town of Farragut strategic planning session. I was the only citizen there, no partners or anything. I just have a, just very curious, does the Town of Farragut have a line item, or what type of contributions do they provide to the Sheriff's Department?
Taxpayers and their taxes.
Yeah, do they provide anything else besides that?
County
As a
tax,
town?
county taxes.
No, not really. It's, and unless we have a project with them or something, but other than that.
Okay, thank you.
Just real quick, since I have about 30 seconds, as I was told, just to give you an idea. We got Amazon moving in. Blount County's got Amazon coming in, and they also have Smith & Wesson coming in. Smith & Wesson is gonna start their people at $25 an hour. Knox County Sheriff's Office pays our patrol officers $19.06 an hour. They pay our correctional officers $16.83 an hour. Kind of gives you an idea on our support staff, our secretaries and things like that, or at least within our records division, $12.70 an hour. We have to work on this, and I'll continue to do so. So thank you all very much.